Hi, hello. Okay, I hate tutorials that bore you with like the maker's life story. I don't know, it's weird. So we're just gonna get into it. I'm gonna walk you through making some really simple grid-based generation blueprints, like blueprints that make grids, or grids of actors, toilet flush. And then I'm gonna take some time to explain why it works, and some alternative like cool stuff you can do with them. It should be pretty quick. So the first one I'm going to explain is this guy here. Get out a plain editor, and it's going to be this one. This one runs on begin play. It's pretty simple. It's not going to do anything until you simulate. That's it. That's the actor. Super simple. The second one is a construction based blueprint, and you'll see it's running right away when we place it. So it runs before, and I believe you can bake light maps onto these as well, as long as they're set as static, which it's not. But if you set it to static, you can. And then the third one's kind of like a combination of the two. It's not really a third one, it's just a bunch of little things you can do to the first two. If you want to see the first one, go to 1 minute 55. If you want to see the second one, go to 10:50. And if you want to skip to all the weird stuff you can do, but you already know how to do the first two for some reason, go to 14 minutes, 20 seconds. All right, cool. So let's go on and get into it. So these are ones I made before. I'm going to make new ones. We're just going to go into tutorial grid stuff. And you're going to right click, and you're going to make a new blueprint, new actor, and name it grid based placement blueprint. I don't know. It's fine the way it is. And let's just get started here. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Stop going on my other screen. Okay, so you can see this is blank. And there are some things you can do with custom events. We'll get to that. But right now, we're just going to run it off of the begin play because that's the easiest way to test it and for you guys to understand what's happening. And we're going to use a for loop. Now, there are different ways to do this. If you wanted to do a for each loop, it would be basically identical, except you would have different actors. So you can make an array of whatever actor you want. You'd have to make an array in here. So let's say, for example, you have an array of actors that is just full of my cube blueprint that I made. Let's make it class. You can do the same thing here. Just copy and paste these in, and it would do the same thing. And then you can spawn these, but we're not going to do that. It's the same thing. Just we're going to do numbers because it's easy and it's easy to customize. So the first thing you're going to want to do is drag off this and do spawn actor from class, and split up the transform and split up the location. Now we're going to edit these individually, and how we're going to do that is the division whole and remainder function, and that doesn't have support for integers. It only has support for floats, so you just have to convert it. So division whole, right click on your editor here, and that comes up, and just plug in your index into the dividend, and then the divisor, we're going to require this to be the max rows, I think. Yeah, max rows. And what's going to happen is the remainder is going to come out as the number you want for the row, and then this is going to come out as the column you place it on, which is going to be the location Y. And we're going to multiply this by a really simple number. It's just going to be actor spacing. I'm just going to make it like 300 for the sake of it. Compile. So this is going to be 300. And this is going to be, we're just going to make rows of 5. And this number here, the last index, is going to be your max number of actors. And we're just gonna make this like 90, just so you guys can get an idea of what's happening here. So go ahead and multiply this, and then multiply this, and you can just both multiply it by the actor spacing, plug the return value into the y, plug the remainder into the x. So this kind of sort of works, right? I'll show you why there's something wrong with this. What do you want? Oh, no, we'll just put cube in here. Cube test. It's not a default engine blueprint, but it's just an actor with a cube in it to make it easier for you to see. That's the old one. This is the new one. Drag that in. You'll see we've got this old one here. We're going to delete it. You'll see nothing's happening here, and that's because they're spawning at the world origin somewhere over here. I don't know where the world origin is. So the reason why this isn't working is because we need to spawn them based on the location of this actor. So we just do get actor location and split it. And we're just going to add some plus, I don't know what the hotkey is, add float plus float, and then float plus float. Plug these in here, and then plug this into your X and this into your Y, and that's just gonna offset it so it's based on the actual actor's location. And now it works. Cool. So that's that. It's really simple. Now I'm going to try and explain to you why this works. It's a little complicated. I'm gonna pull up Blender, and I'm gonna attempt to explain the math behind this. I'm not good at math, so hopefully this will get across to you guys that are also not good at math. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. So let's pull over a calculator here. Now, calculators with just the straight division function, they don't play too well with Blender. So let's say you want a total of 20 actors, and you want them in rows of 3. So it's gonna give you 6. You're gonna have 6 columns. Yay, that's good information, but how do we use that? That's where the divisor and dividend and whole and remainder, the whole and remainder node comes in handy. So in this situation, the dividend is the index on the max actors as it goes through it, and the row length is our divisor. I'm going to refer to it to row length for now on because I don't know how to pronounce things. Let me show you. So we have our index, and we also have our row length. And here, the index is our max actors. Cool. So that's pretty simple so far, right? So how this division and remainder node works is it gives you a remainder and a result. Now, when the index is below or equal to the row length, this is pretty simple, right? Like, if you have your rows here, and you have your columns here that I can't spell, it's 1L. It's fine. You're going to have your index be something like this. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then it's going to see, oh, the row length, it's 3. I have to loop back over. So the result node then outputs a 1, because this fits into 1 perfectly. The remainder node then starts to put out a 0, because it sees that it goes into it once and there's nothing left over. Okay, so it loops back here and it goes 4, 5, 6. Then the result node starts pumping out a 2, because it goes into it 2 times perfectly and there's no remainder. So it goes 7, 8, 9. And the result of this is that you eventually have a node that perfectly translates to the number of columns and rows that you want. And you can see that pretty well represented over here. If I plug in 3 and 20 and I simulate, it's the same thing. It starts here, goes over, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So that's why that works. I hope that kind of makes sense. Math is sort of magic to me, and I'm trying to explain it in terms that I understand. I don't really get it. But let's move on. Okay, so we've made our event-based one, our begin plane-based one. Now let's try and make one that works on construct, the one that spawns even if we're not simulating. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste this, and we're just going to name it construct BP. This is super simple to reproduce. Basically, all you want to do is you want to cut this out. Actually, I'm just going to disconnect it for something I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to pop it over here. And you'll see things are mostly working, but not quite, because this node doesn't copy, doesn't work in the construction script, because you can't spawn actors in a construction script, because that would be madness. So basically what we're going to want to do instead is spawn static mesh component. Add static mesh component. Cool. So this basically functions as the same thing, except you have to specify the static mesh in here, which we're going to do now. We're just going to spawn a cube, and we're going to give it a nice material, because I like nice things. And we're going to split up the transform, like we did before, and just plug these in. Now, you might think, I'll just put it in the way it was before, and it's going to work the same way. You'd be wrong. Because construction scripts use, or spawn static mesh uses relative locations. So as it gets towards 0, it's going to kind of make sense. But since you're adding the location to the location, you're basically doubling it. So all you have to do is remove these plus signs, remove that, and it's good. Now it works. Now it spawns wherever you want it to. And it works just the same as the other one, except it works in the construction script. So that's basically all we need to do for that one. That's your construction script one done. It's the same thing as the first one. However, there are some cool things. So this is going to be the third one that I mentioned in the beginning. It's kind of the same thing. There's just some cool things you can do with these to kind of like edit them, make them a little better than before. So we're just going to duplicate this grid-based one, and we're going to call it the cool one, blueprint. This is just going to be a bunch of random things you can do to make these kind of a little more useful for everyday use. So it would be kind of nice if we could edit this in here instead of going into the blueprint, right? Correct. You're right. I'm happy you thought that, viewer. All we have to do for that is make these instance editable. And suddenly we can edit these numbers over here. This should probably be a float, or probably should not be a float, because when you put in not whole numbers, it gets a little grumpy. But you can see here, we're just changing the numbers around. It works fine. It's cool. It's great. It's wonderful. Again, you can probably bake light maps onto these. So it's useful for placing like walls or fences and that kind of thing. It's nice. Okay, that's neat. What if you wanted to have these fit perfectly? That's actually really easy too. All you have to do is go into the construction script and add a static mesh component here. That way you have a reference to it, and I'm going to set it as the exact same mesh here. Now, if you don't set it to the exact same mesh, it's actually going to have the wrong mesh in here, and this won't work. So just make sure they're the same. I don't believe there's any way to get this information or set this information in here. If there is, somebody will comment it, tell me I'm wrong, and pin the comment to the video. So just scroll down a bit and you'll see it. But I don't think there is. So I'm doing it this way. And you have to also make sure, since you see here, this is on top of this one. All you have to do is make it skip the first one. Just set the index to 1 instead of 0, and then you're good to go. So then all you have to do is pull this mesh in here and do get bounds, and you get the box extent, and you just times this by 2 because it sort of works like a radius. The box extent goes from the center of the mesh out to the edge. It's super easy. So just multiply it by 2, and then do that instead of your actor spacing. You just plug this in here, and suddenly you have meshes that fit perfectly together. And this is nice for like floors and stuff. If you want to like run around, you've got a floor, it's perfectly spaced, it works for planes, it's very cool. It's also really neat for things that kind of are beveled. So I've prepared a mesh, and I'm just gonna change the static mesh here to a beveled cube. It's the same as the chamfered cube, it just has a better UV unwrap. Bevel. And I'm just gonna change that over here as well. And now you've got this really neat, super tight beveled mesh that you can walk around on. Kind of looks like bricks. And you can add a little bit of an offset to each of these too if you want, based on the row or the value they're at. It's fine. And you can also do this. So if you do plus, I'm just holding control to move these nodes around. And then you can add your actor spacing to these. And it should work. So if I do this, you can still edit this value here, but when you set it to 0, they snap together perfectly. So that's pretty cool. There's one more thing I want to do. So in this, let's say you want to use these as kind of a preview. You could, let's just set the relative scale to 0.1. So now they're real flat, and we'll set the relative scale of this to 0.1 as well. It would also be easier to just plug this into, we'll times this by -1. This is just so it's spawning at the floor. You don't need to do this. It should spawn it like at the base based on the location of the cube. It's not. Wait. Yeah, it is. Yeah, this is cool. This is fine. I just have to move that one down as well. Cool. Easy. Okay, so we've got these all spawning at the bottom, and the reason I did that is because I'm going to turn this on as well, and I'm going to switch the event graph spawner on and do debug character. And now when I simulate, it's not going to do anything because I did something wrong. This was unintended. They've started a summoning circle. It's because they're trying to spawn on top of each other. So you would need a separate actor spacing variable here. The easiest way to do that is to promote this to a variable and just do this as grid size. This is because we did this get component bounds thing. You don't need to do this. If you don't do this, you can just use actor spacing and that's it. But we're gonna do this because it's nicer and we can do cool things with it. This is cube size, grid size would be better. And we just do actor spacing plus grid size. And also, you should probably hook up the Z value here. I'm not sure why I had it unhooked. Try to adjust location, but always spawn. And now they're gonna spawn on top of their grids. They're also gonna float because the collision's broken, but just don't do dumb things and make your mesh properly. So that's cool. they're gonna spawn, and you can kind of make this. You can imagine this being like a little glowy box that shows something. But I'm not here to show you how to do specific things. I'm just here to show you how to make a cool mesh. Computer doesn't like it when I have a million actors on the screen at the same time. I run on a potato. Hello, welcome. It's me. I'm poor. Cool. Okay, so there's one more thing we could do. And what we're going to do is we're going to switch this grid. No, you know what? We're going to use the cool one for this. Okay, so I'm going to open up my actor, my debug character, this boy here. And I'm just going to make an event that runs on the letter T. And scroll up a million miles because Unreal is dumb and it doesn't understand how to search for the letter T. It just named it T. Why isn't it input T? I don't know. Probably because I should make my own inputs. Anyway, so we're going to spawn actor from class. And I'm just going to spawn it at my location. I'm just going to make it spawn above me because that's easy. In front of me, be easier to see. And that's going to be that. It's going to spawn in the cool one. So we will delete this. And we'll delete this. And we're going to hit play. Cool, so there's nothing here. I'm going to hit T. And it's going to spawn these boys. Now it's got the grids here, so we'll just make it spawn a little higher. We'll make it spawn like 200 higher. And then we're going to do something else. So you'll notice, you'll remember even, that I made this spawn event, but I didn't do anything with it. So instead of the begin play, I'm going to remove the begin play and hook it up to the spawn event. And then I'm going to make this spawn. And that's going to run on the released. So the press is going to spawn the grids, and then the released is going to spawn the actual actors. So you can kind of see this be like a, similar to if you would spawn units in like an RTS, if you're just pressing a button. Boop, and it spawns them. Let's try it again. I'm going to press the T button, and then I'm going to release the T button. And it's nice. It spawns them in different ways, so you can see using this in different ways. You don't have to hook it up to press and release. You can hook it up to different buttons and that kind of thing. You could delete them afterwards. If you make it delete the actors after it runs that spawn, it's gonna delete the construction script cubes, but it's not going to delete the actors, I believe. We'll test that. Boop, boop. Yeah, so it spawns them. It's cool. It's like a preview. It's neat. You can make it follow around your camera as well. I'm not going to do that because that's not what this tutorial's about. But you can do all kinds of cool stuff with it. So that's it. That's really all I wanted to show you. I guess there's one more cool thing you can do. If you go into these ones that we set as instance editable, and we tick off expose on spawn on these, you can actually change the values inside here. Yeah, sometimes you have to refresh, but you didn't have to do it this time. And so you can actually change these on the fly. So like you could change them based on what your power level is, and you can use it as like a choreographed attack for like an MMO or something. So we can just change this to 120, and you can change it. You can basically use the spawn actor function as its own function, like a standalone function. It's kind of neat. It's cool. There's all kinds of things you can do with this. Set the actors down to like 30 and then set the rows to 7. And we'll get a nice little preview here. Boop, boop. Nice. Cool, so that's it. That's everything I have to show you. This is super simple. You can use these a lot of ways, a lot of different ways. I don't know what to make tutorials for. Somebody mentioned this in one of my streams, so I just decided to make it. If you guys have any like really simple things that you would like to see tutorials done for, that you think like, oh man, I don't want to ask people to do this because it's so simple, I just don't understand it, but like, why would anybody want to help me? No, just ask me, man. I love making tutorials. I just don't know what to make tutorials for because it's been so long since I've made tutorials, and it's been so long since I was a beginner in Unreal Engine and Blender and all these things that I use. I just don't know what people have trouble with. I don't remember what I had trouble with. So if you're just getting started, go ahead and ask me for a tutorial, and I can help you out. Other than that, thank you guys for stopping by, tuning in, and sticking with me this long, and I'll be seeing you again real soon, and I hope you enjoy your game dev life. Maybe you're just watching this because you enjoyed the sound of my voice, and for that I'm extremely flattered. Have a good one, guys, and I'm sure you don't enjoy my voice. Who does? Later days, guys. Eat your vegetables.